All right, I guess the video decided not to play tonight. That's a strange one. That's weird. Anyway, how's it going, Andre?
It's going pretty good. What can I tell you?
Good.
It's going pretty good.
So let me run through this real quick. Patreon and Buy Me a Coffee. We're on there. Find us at B3F Podcast. Friends of the show, CQ, the Pop Culture Warrior. He's on Tuesday nights on Facebook Live. We have Two Brothers Podcast with Troy and Trevor. Trevor also has the Trevor Jackson Podcast and Dem Jackson Boys. They're on hiatus until the first of the year. We got Dumbass Dudes Podcast and Happened in the 90s Podcast. We've also got my man Andre and Easy and a couple of guys from the U.S. doing their Something for the Weekend every other weekend. I think this is their off week this weekend. As we record this. But also check out the Andy Harris on Twitter and his show, This is Americans Live. And our merch site is up. It's B3F Podcast at threadless.com. Now, Andre is sitting in for Steven tonight all the way from London.
For sure. Yeah.
And I'm excited about this. I love talking to Andre.
Likewise.
I'm glad. I hope I'm not ever overbearing to people that I like to talk to. But Andre, you're drinking Havana tonight, and
for sure.
So I'm drinking actually Honky Tonk Brewing. I think they're out of Nashville, and they are. And so it's a cherry Berliner Weiss beer. I decided to drink a beer tonight.
Okay.
Sour cherry ale. So it was warm today here in Knoxville. Right. We went and picked out a Christmas tree today and actually had to cut it down ourselves.
What?
Yeah. Well, so we went to a place that has you cut it down yourself. Like it's, I don't know. We don't typically do that, but we did tonight.
When you say chop it down, what do you mean? What, a saw? Axe?
Yes, a saw. Mm-hmm. Yes, okay. we used a saw, and it took forever to pick out a good tree.
Okay.
And
how long did it take to cut down?
Not long, maybe 10 minutes, maybe. But that's because we had me and my wife and daughter. My wife started it, and then she handed off to my daughter, and my daughter handed back to my wife, and then they handed it to me. And so we chopped it down and drug it out of the woods and had it wrapped and thrown on top of the car, and it's sitting outside on top of the car right now. So
is that a ritual? Is that something you do every year? Or is that,
no, we usually go to a place and buy a live tree, but this is the first time we went out and cut our own down. We were having trouble finding good trees. Trees were expensive this year. Usually they're about, I don't know, $75, maybe $60 or something. And the place we normally buy from, we went there and they were charging about $24 a foot. So for an 8-foot tree, that shit gets expensive.
Okay. So I'm assuming it's pretty cheap if you've got to cut it yourself.
Yes, it was quite cheap. I think it was $45 total. So
okay.
So anyway, how's it been?
It's been good. It's been quite busy, if I'm being honest.
Oh yeah,
and I'm not talking about just normal work. I'm talking on the podcast scene with as you so beautifully mentioned. Yeah, there's something for the weekend. We had to give up, as you know. We were doing the juxtaposition debate before that,
right?
So I wouldn't say we've given it up, but we've had to put it on hold, or as I like to say, juxtaposition debate has actually evolved into something for the weekend. So
right,
that's where all my energy's going at the moment.
So do you miss doing the juxtaposition debate, or do you love something for the weekend so much that you don't miss the other?
To be honest, as I said, I think something for the weekend is an evolution of the juxtaposition debate. So it feels pretty similar.
Yeah.
The difference is we've now got, as you know, two guys from the US as well. So at the moment, even though it doesn't sound very right, no, I don't miss the juxtaposition debate, because what we're doing is still feels like it. It just feels like I've got more friends around. We're doing the same thing, just with extra friends.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, and I was listening to your episode from this as we record this past weekend. And there are a lot of the same. It's got a lot of the same feel. There's a lot of the back and forth debating sort of thing. Especially I noticed, especially regarding Bay. So I should So let's see. You have Bay Bright. So it's you and Easy, and you have Bay Bright, and I'm blanking out on the other guy's name right now.
Big
T. Big T. So Bay has a book about how to get a real man. I think it's something along those lines. And so it seems like Big T jumps in every once in a while, but it seems like you and Easy kind of give Bay a little bit of pushback on some of his stuff.
Well,
So
yeah, that's the idea. You know, normally, of course, you know, if somebody comes on your program and they've got a book, you normally sort of gush all over them and tell them what a beautiful book it is and blah blah. Well, we know we try to look at it from a different angle because a lot of the stuff that he says is controversial, but he does back it up when you press him on some of the things that he mentions. So a lot of women, when they read it, they say, "Oh, it's chauvinistic." But when you then try to get into the nitty gritty and ask him questions and try to put him in a corner, he's actually explains himself pretty well. And you get a lot of women who actually switch and say, "Well, actually, okay, I understand where he's coming from."
Right.
So I respect him for that. But nevertheless, that doesn't stop me from trying to not find holes, but put him to task on some of the things that he says. That's what I do.
Yeah, no, I understand that. Yeah. So it's and I'll be honest with you, I miss the juxtaposition. I like something for the weekend. It's different for me.
Yeah.
Like it's very much. I don't, because you guys open it up for people to call in or text in through WhatsApp, and I wish that I were at the point where I could call in. It's just that's a long distance call. That's
yeah, but you've dropped some great texts in though. We use your information all the time, mate.
You do, and I appreciate putting that out there. But it's I don't feel the pull to I don't feel the pull to jump in the same as something for the weekend, the same as I do in juxtaposition debate, because I feel if I'm out in public and I'm listening to someone else's conversation, I'm just taking it in. Like I feel like I'm and I know it's one of those things where it's like barbershop banter, I think you guys call it. It's the kind of talk that you would hear at any black barbershop in the UK, right?
Yep.
So go ahead.
No. I was going to say it started off in the UK, but as we branched out, it's now any black barbershop in the world. That's it. But semantics. Carry on.
Yeah. So I feel I have that feeling like I'm sitting there, kind of next to you guys, not part of the conversation, but listening to the conversation. But I think I'm one of the few that feel that way. I think a lot of people feel like they're part of it, and that's why you get the calls and things like that. But with the juxtaposition debate, because it's a debate format type deal, and I love that. I love the back and forth and like, no, that's not real. That's not how it is. Or what. I love that, and that pulls me to. There's so many times I'm like, hey, I don't give a shit. I don't care what it costs. I got a call.
Yeah, I hear that, and I think that we are trying to steer something for the weekend in that direction. So one of the things that I make sure is that I've got an idea of their views. I don't know what they're going to say, but I've got an idea on their views. And normally one of the reasons why is so that I can make sure that I oppose it, just like we did in juxtaposition debate. And that's another reason why with Bay in his book, we don't bring him on and we don't say what a great book you do. What happens is I pick out stuff in the book that I think is questionable, or I think others might think are questionable, and I put him to task on it. And in that scenario, between Bay and I, we end up having a sort of debate because I'm questioning him, I'm questioning his book, and he's having to explain or justify, or however you want to put it, some of the things that he said. So I am always trying to get that conflict scenario going. But yeah, you're right. With the juxtaposition, there was no hiding. We had a topic. One of us went on one side, the other went on the other. There was no in between. And then your job was just to argue that topic and to make listeners believe that your point of view was the correct point of view.
Right. So I guess do you do any regarding Bay's book, do you do any kind of look up any background or research to kind of form your pushback to him, or do you just kind of go strictly off of what your real opinion is, and or maybe you stretch it a little bit? So,
Well, I stretch it a little bit. So, I mean, some of the things he'll say, like he'll say that basically women should dress if you want a real man, a woman should dress for her man. Now, off the bat, that sounds to me pretty.
pretty misogynistic.
Yeah, yes. So definitely, yeah. So definitely, I would put him to task on that. But he will explain it, and he always does. He always comes up with answers that are
They're well
at the
thought out.
Yes. But I think he's
Yes.
been through this before. I think
Oh, I'm
he's
sure.
been in many scenarios where he was going to places, and he'd get it'd be him, and he'd have to explain his book, and he'd have a lot of women who would be questioning him and stuff like that. So yeah, so he's used to the whole scenario. So I respect him because he puts it out there every time, and he says, "Yeah, you go on, you can question the book," and I do. And even
Yeah.
though some of the others might agree with some of the things he says, whether or not I agree, my job is to
Right.
question and try to get
Right.
others to yeah. I mean, last week I asked him if he thought that didn't he think that the passage that we read out was chauvinistic? And
Right. Yeah, I remember that.
yeah, well, you see, I mean, normally you write a book and you go on someone's program, you don't expect them to ask you something like that.
Right.
You see, but again, he handled it very well, and he had
Oh, yeah.
answers. Yeah, so
Yeah. Yeah,
but,
so and Steven and I have a little bit of the same thing where, um, we do a little bit of talk about what's going on ahead of time, not a lot, because we like the off the cuff a little. We really like the less structured thing, although we're really gonna have to start getting a little more structure, but we will oftentimes one of us we will agree, but one of us will take the other side in whatever the topic is or whatever the subject is. Not really so much for debate, but just because we're really, I think for us though, it brings out a little bit of funny and I revel in being able to talk Steven off of his opinions. That's a running thing on here is that he will charge in gung ho and he
yeah.
will 10 minutes later be agreeing with what I'm saying and backpedaling on some of his, or he'll come
Ah.
in the next episode and go, I thought about what you're saying and fuck you because you're right. or whatever. Yeah. So,
No,
yeah.
I think with me, I again, I normally, and I don't know if, well, I guess Easy won't mind me saying it, but yeah, normally we pick a topic, Easy will tell me his view on it, and then I will take the opposing view, and I
Yeah.
like that in the sense, yeah, whether or not I agree, my then plan is to try to get listeners to at least question the things that
Yeah.
I'm saying. I mean, and as we've had topics like I think we're going to do it on something for the weekend soon. Can a single woman raise a boy to be a man? And we
Yeah.
had a lot of people that weren't too happy about that question. But of course, I argued no, they can't. I'm not
Right.
sure I swung it for many people, but gave it a good hard argument, and
Right.
that's the beauty of it. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember you guys doing that. And I think that the approach you take in JXP letting Easy pick first,
Mm.
because if I had to guess, he probably picks what he actually feels.
Of course, of course.
And I would go out on a limb and say you guys probably agree. In reality, you're agreeing most of the time. I'm sure there's nuances that
Yes, many
you
times.
disagree
Yes,
on, but right.
yes.
But I would bet that your approach helps in many different walks of life that don't pertain to juxtaposition debate because you can have that conversation and take your stance and you know how to talk through a subject matter even if you don't completely agree on it. I could imagine in a business environment that's very handy.
That makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I concur with that. Uh,
And I don't know what you do, not as far as like company, like I don't know what your normal day-to-day job is. I was gonna say 9 to 5, but I don't know what
yeah,
you guys call it over there.
yeah. I
But
work with computers, so I've actually um, a manager of a service desk team. So I've got about 4 people under me who we basically work for a company that when people start, we have to set them up security wise, just set them up on their machines and make sure they can access certain things, can't access certain things. It's just a service desk, IT service desk.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
IT. Yeah. Okay. It's interesting. I had a feeling that it had something to do with computers, but I wasn't 100% sure what it
Yeah.
is. So,
What about
yeah.
you? What do you do? I've known you for some time, but I'm still not sure what you do.
I I work for a very large company, and I am an analyst. I work in logistics, and
Okay.
I'm I'm a logistics. You'd call it, the company would call it a quality analyst, but it's analyzing the data of parts that we ship out when things don't go correctly. Where did we go wrong? How do we keep that from happening as often and things like that? So I do a lot
All
of that,
right.
and I do a lot of, it's automotive, so I look at a lot of car parts.
Okay. So
So yeah.
you're not one of the guys then. If a car has a faulty brake or whatever you call it, you're not one of those guys who then has to number crunch and decide, is it worth
No.
telling the public and bring those
No.
cars back in, or do we just let a few people die?
No,
And
I'm not, no, I'm not one of those guys. No,
Okay.
no, as a matter of fact, we had an issue several years ago where, um, a bunch of brake discs fell out of a rack very high and hit the floor.
Okay.
And they just kind of said, "Hey, can you take a look at these and just see if we can use these?" And I looked at a few of them, and I started noticing little things, and I couldn't tell if it was a hairline excuse me, if it was a hairline fracture, or if it was just something had brushed against it and left the
Yeah.
line.
Yeah.
And some of the people, not upper management, but some of the people higher than me anyway, were like, all right, well, let's just take out the broken ones and we'll sell the rest of them. And I just said, I can't, in good conscience, I can't sign off on that. I can't stop you from doing it, but
Right.
I'm not signing my name on anything or doing anything like that.
Right.
But I have this thing when it comes to that type of deal. I've had a couple of different instances of things like that. And I always just say, would I put that on a car that my daughter's driving? And if the answer is no, then I know which way I need to go. I mean, some people do things like that. That's not a new thing for people to
Yeah.
do, but it's never steered me wrong. I've had people get mad at me, but it's never steered me wrong taking
Right.
that approach. So
So you've never been told, look, just do it.
yeah, no,
No?
I've never been told. Just Trevor said, "Can I borrow $100 a piece from the both of you guys?"
Who are ya? Who are ya?
No, no, I've made some people mad taking that approach, but I've never gotten myself in a situation that where I felt like, "Ooh, I shouldn't have done that." Like,
Okay.
I've never had that. I can always back that up,
Great
so,
stuff.
yeah.
Mm.
But, anyway, so when I said just a minute ago 9 to 5, and I said, "I don't know what you guys call it," it kinda made me think, and I've thought about this before, and maybe this is a played out topic, I don't know. But I feel like there are a lot of things that we say in the US and you guys say differently over there. And I'm not sure what all they are. Obviously, there's some, when it pertains to a car, you have the bonnet, or we call it the hood, and what do we call the trunk, and you guys call it the what do you guys call that?
The
I can't, I'm blanking out on it now.
boot? Is that the boot?
The boot. Yes,
Boot.
the boot. Yes.
The boot.
Yeah. Yeah, I went to a filming of the show, The Grand Tour, with Jeremy Clarkson and Hammond and
Oh,
May.
right. Okay.
When the
Okay.
first season they filmed in Nashville, Tennessee, and I went to the filming of it, and we had all of us Americans had an argument with them over the different things, because I think you guys also say coupe and we say coupe.
All right.
So yeah, so anyway, I thought about that this week, the different things, because the US is so large compared to most European countries, whereas, like, I think I was talking to a buddy of mine in Sweden, and he was saying, like, Sweden is kind of like the size of California ish, maybe.
Okay.
And that's crazy to me, to think about an entire country, that we have states larger than entire countries over there. It's a weird thing, but it's because it's all I know over here. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Well, yeah. Like us, it's weird for me when I know guys in the US. I mean, for some people, UK is 5 hours behind, and apparently, yeah, for some other people, it's something like, I don't know, 8 or 9 hours behind. But yet
Yeah,
you're in the
we're
same bloody
5 hours
country.
behind you guys, but all the way out on our West Coast, that's
Yeah,
another 3. So,
yeah,
yeah. And then if you go out to Hawaii, it's even more. It's crazy.
yeah.
It
Crazy.
is a strange thing, time zones and all that. I mean, because I think about when we do the 3 the hard way thing,
Yep.
uh, Steve and I, we're starting at 7 a.m. and for you guys that's noon or 11 or noon depending on what time of year it is, but for Josh it's like
Yeah.
nighttime the next day. That's a weird thing to me to think about. Somebody's at night and I'm in the early morning, like I wouldn't even be awake yet normally.
It's quite an accomplishment that we actually, I think, managed to get the 3 of us together and do those podcasts. I think they're beautiful, man.
Yeah. Landover Legend Studios says, "What's up, fellas?"
That's Big T. That's the one of the
Big
guys.
T.
Yep.
All right. Well, thanks for
Yeah,
watching, Big T.
for
Appreciate
sure.
that.
For sure.
Trevor says, "Why do people from Boston sound similar to the UK?" I don't think they do.
Yeah, you beat me to it. I was going to say the same thing. I don't think anybody from the US sounds like us from the UK.
I don't
mate.
either.
All right, mate.
No. Every time I talk to you, I feel like I'm watching a Guy Ritchie movie. No, I don't think, Trevor, I don't know where you're getting that from, man. I don't think the people in Boston sound like they're from the UK at all. But anyway, I was just, I don't know. Like I said, I was thinking this week about things and how the US basically born from the UK, born from England, different parts from different parts of the UK, but it's interesting.
And yet you guys are meant to be the big brothers now, aren't you?
And I don't like it.
I don't think we do either. But it is what it is.
Nobody likes it till they got somebody else that's mad at them. Then they want to holler at you. Hey, why don't you send some people over here? Yeah.
How did you guys end up the big brothers, man? How did that work?
I don't know. I guess because we let everybody have guns. So
Yep.
But it's odd to me how different things are. I mean, I understand things evolve over time and rituals and things change, but it's interesting how many things are that there are probably things that I could say to someone in the UK and they wouldn't even know what I was talking about, and vice versa. I mean, you could probably say some things to me. And
we did the show again, something for the weekend the other day, and someone said, I can't remember the term she used. I can't remember the term, but we also did another show, and I said I accused Bait was of saying that UK women were slack, and Big D said, "What slack?"
I did hear that.
Yeah,
because
I'm assuming
he thought that the UK women were freakier than
but I slipped. I changed it up slightly. He didn't actually say that, but I said that just to get things going. But yeah, he did actually. But yeah, it could have been a hint. But I interpreted it that he was saying UK women were slack, and then Big T says, what's slack? But I guess
when you said it, I knew what you meant, but I'd never heard it before. I'd never heard that word used like that.
Right,
but I knew what you meant. But
I guess
it's
similar to the word loose, slack.
Loose. Don't go. There's so in the US you can go to different parts of the country and it's the same as the difference in the US to the UK. I mean, I can travel, so I'm in East Tennessee, but there are different phrases for things just on the other side of the state in West Tennessee. Like one part may say, "I'm going to cut the grass." The other part says, "mow the lawn." It's the same thing. Everybody knows what it means, but they use different, like, the hose out in the yard that you water your yard with. Some people call it water and hose on one side of the state. The other side of the state calls it a hose pipe. And it's not the same as like where we have trunk and you guys say boot.
But still,
the size of the US and the way things are laid out and the way some parts of the US don't really do a lot of traveling. I mean, it would take me 3 hours to get to Alabama, but in 3 hours you could probably be in another country.
Yeah, of course. Again, that is pretty weird to us. That yeah, definitely 3 hours. You could definitely be in another country. So yeah, I mean, to get to Scotland, I don't think it even takes that bloody long. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's so I spent a week or so in Germany a few years ago, and let's see, Big T says some people say soda and others call it pop. Big T, what do you say? Do you say soda or do you say pop? Because we don't say either one much in the South. Most people in the South say Coke, and that just means
Is that what he means when he says soda and pop? Why Coke?
soda and pop would be like a Coke would be a Coca-Cola would be considered a soda or a
Yeah, but
pop.
I'm assuming soda is any fizzy drink, isn't it? Is a soda any fizzy drink?
No, we
Oh.
if it's like a tonic or like this raspberry flavored sparkling water or whatever it says on the can, like we
Yeah.
would call this soda water. We wouldn't call it soda. Like we would specify that it's water. Like
All
we
right.
wouldn't just
So
leave
what's
it
the
at that.
difference between? All right. So soda is. I'm still lost then. What's soda then?
Any soft drink.
Oh, doesn't have
Soda
to be
would
fizzy.
no, well, I mean, it is generally fizzy. So
Okay. Okay.
Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Sprite, 7-Up, all those things were you say soda, somebody wherever T is at, if he said, "Hey, will you get me a soda?" Somebody's going to ask him, "Well, what kind of soda do you want?"
All
And then
right.
he'll say, "Oh, I'll have a Coca-Cola, or I'll have a Coke," is probably what he'd say, or I'll have a Pepsi.
Okay.
But in the South, we don't say soda much, and we don't say pop ever. We make fun of Northerners for saying pop. I say soda on occasion, but most people just say, "I'm going to run to the store and get a Coke." But we know in the South that doesn't mean Coca-Cola. That may mean a Sprite, or it may mean a Pepsi,
Right. Is
or
that how Coke has got a grip on you guys? So even when you call
I,
other drinks, you still
I
call them
think
Cokes.
I think it's part of. I think that's part of it. And Coke is, it's the original one,
Mm-hmm.
But I think part of it is because Coke's probably been around about the longest. But I think it's because in the South we talk lazily. We will have, we will talk in general, and your friends and family know what you mean. Like I could say something in general to Steven, and he's going to know exactly what I'm saying because we've been around each other, known each other long enough, and my wife
Okay.
and kids are the same way. But I think in the South, and we, I work with a guy who's from New Jersey, and he says there's so much in the South. Like I think the South is closer to Trevor calls it pop. You fucking Yankee, you Trevor.
Pop.
That's why you moved to North Carolina.
Pop. See, in the UK, pop is music.
Right. And we would say pop music here. We probably wouldn't call it pop, but yes, pop is in the UK. Yeah. But in this, I think the South is probably closer to the you guys call it the Queen's English or the King's English? I can't
Queen's
remember
English.
that. Queen's
Queen's
English.
English. Yeah.
The South is probably closer because we have a lot of things like where we don't enunciate our T's as where depending on where they fall in a word.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a lot of things. There's a lot of UK, England things where there's a T missing somewhere.
So if I
Like,
ask for an example, would you be able to give an example of that?
yeah, I used to work with a girl, and every time I'd say something, if she didn't hear me, or we would say what. If you hear when I say what, is should be pronounced what. There should be the T there. So we kind of we just don't drop it as much. She used to say what,
All right.
and there's no T there. It's like she just cut the word off. Anyway, it's like I'm fucking done with that word. Like, but everyone from England that I've ever met does somewhat the same thing. I can't think of any time I've heard you do it, but I bet if I listen long enough, I could pick up on some of that.
What? Cut the T.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. I think What? Yeah, you're right. I don't think we bother.
Yeah. You just You
What?
don't think about it, just like
Yeah.
we don't think about it in the South. But I think the South is a little bit closer to the Queen's English than most of the rest of the U.S. is. But anyway, I don't know. I'm fascinated with those kind of, and that's the kind of shit that bores Steven to death. So I love being able to have these conversations. He used to message me last night, and he said something, I can't let you keep doing this by yourself for too long or whatever. And I just said, it's nice to not have somebody, as soon as I start talking, say, who cares? I don't care. So
where is Steven? I haven't asked that question. Where is he?
So he
Is it a hiatus?
his is this Big T says, I thought
Merry
people in the
Christmas.
UK say pardon instead of what? Yeah, I'm sure some people say pardon.
Beg your pardon.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's back and forth doing a lot with his kids because they live about 4-ish hours away from him. So he's back and forth getting them a lot. And his parents recently sold their house and their land, and he's been helping them do some moving. So he's had a lot of driving on the weekends, working here during the week in Knoxville, and then driving on the weekends. And it's just too much. I mean, to be up till midnight or so, and then have to get up and drive 3.5 hours to his parents to help them. So, and it's probably good for him because he gets burnt out pretty quick on this.
Oh, so you guys haven't fallen out or anything like that then?
No, not at all.
Damn.
No.
No drama there then.
It would really take a lot for the two of us to never speak to each other again. I don't even know if it's possible. Come
on, you guys must have had some arguments. Come on, share it with the listeners. Come on.
So we've never really had an argument where we really were truly mad at each other. The closest to anything, and we didn't even argue over it because it was like he understood the way I felt, and I understood why he was doing what he was doing. I just didn't like it, and he was. So
you're not going to give us any details, then?
No, I will. I will. So in our early 20s, which I got married very young and had kids. So in our early 20s, we were playing in probably the second or third band together that we had been in together. It was me, Steven, another friend of ours, and then we picked up another guy that we became friends with shortly after that.
What instruments?
Steven is a guitar player. He's a songwriter and singer. What? And I'm a bass player. I dabble on the drums and a little bit of what if he drove a car into your house? I mean, it depends on why. I'm sorry. Big T said, what if he drove a car into my house? I'm like, it would depend on what the reasoning was. But I mean, even if I did get mad at him, you give me a little bit of time, we'll be over it. It's just, it's one of those things. We've been friends for so long. What it would take is something he wouldn't do. So, it would take, he'd have to kill one of my kids or something like that. And even then, if it was an accident, I'd probably be all right. No, we were in a band, and Steven was freshly divorced and was not dealing with it well, and he just needed some Justin.
Someone go ahead. Needed someone.
Justin, I'm out. Justin, from the Drink About It podcast, says, I'm out of the loop. Where the hell is Steven? I went through that a couple minutes ago. He's got some stuff he's got going on. He'll be back next week. But Steven was not dealing with the divorce and things like that wrong. He felt like he had no direction in his life, kind of a bit depressed, or probably very depressed. Yeah. And he decided to join the Coast Guard. And we were really putting a lot into playing music and trying to do something with it. And that was one of those. That was one of those things where I was like, he moved. So when he decided to join the Coast Guard, one of the other guys in the band said, well, I guess I don't have shit to do now. So he joined the Army.
What?
And then Steven broke up the band that we loved to play in so much. And then the two of them moved away because they joined the military, and the military moves you all over the place. So
yeah.
So I was then not playing in a band anymore. And my two closest friends was Steven and another friend of ours, Jordan, who I've known longer than Steven.
Right.
Were both gone. And so I was depressed, and I was pissed off at Steven for breaking the band up and things like that. But it didn't. I understood why he did it. I was still mad at him. I understood why he did it, though, and probably would have done the same thing had I been in his shoes. And he understood why I was upset about it. And that's just it. That's what it is. We've never argued. Trevor asked, y'all have argued over the last glass of whiskey? No, we really haven't. But Steven has said this before, and it makes complete sense. The key to us never really getting mad at each other or disappointed in each other, really, or anything, is because we don't expect anything. Like, he's my closest friend. I'm his closest friend. Like, no one can tolerate me as long as he can tolerate me. he's the same. Like, no one can tolerate him as long as I can tolerate him. But I don't expect that if let's just say if we were moving, I don't expect him to come and help me move.
Yeah.
I would say to him, I'm moving this weekend. I could use your help if you can. And if you
Right.
can't, that's fine.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't show up, I'm not disappointed or anything. It just is what it is. Like,
Yeah.
I don't owe him anything. He doesn't owe me anything. And that's just the way it is. And it works for us.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best way to be with most people. I was talking to Bay Bright on the same subject and saying that, he's got all these expectations in his book of, what a woman needs to do. And I said, yes, if you didn't have any expectations, wouldn't that make it easier as a couple to sort of get along and get together? But all these expectations, doesn't that sort of cause problems in a relationship? Because all the time the woman's got to live up to your expectations, and probably even vice versa. You've got to live up to whatever expectations she may have. So yeah, I think the more expectations you have of someone, the harder it is for the relationship to survive.
Yeah, I think that I could definitely see, because he's got some pretty big expectations, Bay. So I could definitely see that causing problems. But I think, and somebody asked me last week, what they worded it like, what 3 pieces of advice would you give to somebody when they're getting married? Because my wife and our anniversary is tomorrow, and it'll be 22 years.
All right.
And
congratulations.
And thank you. And one of the things I would say to someone is, be who you are when you meet someone. That way there's no surprises later. Now, everybody holds back a little bit. I understand that's natural. You don't want to let your crazy completely out. But if you're someone like Bay and you have these opinions or whatever, don't get a year deep into a relationship and then tell all those expectations, because it's just, you've wasted your time and the other person. So that's one of the biggest things. And it took my wife and I a long time to figure out how to be individual people and not be married. Thank you, Big T.
How to be individual people, not to be married, did you say?
No, it took a long time for us to learn how to be individual people and not have our identity wrapped up in the other person. Because we got married young, and we were in the church who was really kind of leading us the wrong way on how to deal with marriage issues when you're young. And so it was years. I mean, it was.
Oh, you think the church was actually leading you the wrong way in how to resolve marriage issues?
Yes, in how to resolve marriage issues, in instructing us to get married when we got married.
No, I can understand that. I can understand them instructing you when maybe you shouldn't have, but I would have thought, things to do if you're having problems, that not straightforward. But how could they get those sort of things wrong? And they say, they're telling the wife that they have to obey the husband or something crazy like that.
No, that wasn't it. But there was a lot of just saying, "Oh, everything's fine. You're in a good place. You're in a good place. Don't worry about it. Everything's fine."
Oh, I see.
Like,
no advice at all.
You're really giving no advice, which leads you in a poor direction, because you're now sitting around going, "Well, I feel this way, but evidently this is how I'm supposed to feel." And
okay.
So
Yeah.
But anyway, so enough about me. What do you want to talk about, man? I feel like I've been rambling.
Yeah, I think I tried to steer it that way. I saw. Was it last week when you had I forgot his name, but the comedian guy on, and it wasn't quite going as you'd have liked. So you got his missus to call in. Was that last week?
Yes, that was last week. Yes, it was
superb,
last
Wednesday.
Superb.
Yes. It was struggling a little bit, but once you got her on,
he was not going the direction I wanted him to go, and I was trying. But here's what I'll tell you. I got a text message from him the next day that said, "Well, I thanks, you've given me something else to argue about now," and they broke up. So
what? Don't tell me that. Is that true?
Yes, it's true. He texted me, so that was actually a couple of days later. It wasn't the next day, because the next day was Thanksgiving. But he texted me a few days later and said,
I thought it was almost like therapy. I thought it went well. I thought
it went well as well, but I knew some things behind the scenes based on the way he was acting that something wasn't right. But
yeah, he did not want to chat.
No, he did not. And he said that they split up, and he said so. She split up because of something that I had said, or because she called in and talked to me. Is what he said. She split up, and I said, "Well, I'm just gonna be honest with you. If talking to me is all it took for her to break up with you, then there were problems already."
Great stuff.
So, which he's fine. He's fine with it. He's brushed it off and moved out and got his own place. He's fine. Yeah. Oh, Hunter will land on his dick.
That's it, Hunter. That's it. Oh, they were living together.
Yeah, he was actually living with her and her mom.
Days. So. Hey.
Yeah, but he's, I don't know, he's 26, 27.
He's a youngster.
Like that. So he's very young, yeah.
Okay,
so anyway, yeah. Well.
All right. Okay, so let me ask you something now. And this is just stuff that I Googled trying to do my homework. Hey, Roxanne's on the scene. Joey, you were in the church. And Steve was what's the term?
That's what I'll say. Roxanne, here you go. This will blow your mind. Stephen was an ordained minister, and I was a youth pastor. I was never the head of the church, but I was a youth pastor, so I dealt with the teenagers.
I knew about Steve. I didn't know about you.
Yes. 2 different times in my life I've been a youth pastor.
So what's a youth pastor?
So I in the U.S. and especially in Protestant churches in the U.S., you have the main service that all the adults are in.
Okay.
And once you hit a certain age, you're in there as well. So during the main church service, when the sermon's going on, all of the kids, all the kids leave and they go have what they call children's church.
Yeah.
And it's, very basic Bible things, and they do that. But on Wednesday nights, when we have a midweek service, the youth, meaning like the teenagers, middle school, high school, they separate from the adults and they have their own thing geared more towards teenagers. And that's led by someone. And my wife and I led that together one time. And then.
Your wife as well?
Yes, my wife as well. Yes. Yep. So
have you both, and we'll come right back to you again. Have you guys both left the church?
Yeah. So the difference between me and Stephen is, I say it's a difference. I got a hunch that Stephen hasn't completely left the religion. He's just fed up with it. And I'm fed up with it too. And I'm fed up with, I think that most of the problems in the United States stem from the North American Judeo-Christian church.
Right.
Poor people, homeless people, the church is so against abortion, yet they're not going out and helping these young mothers cope with it, or even adopting the babies that these mothers don't want to have to deal with. So if the church was doing what the church truly is called to do, which is help people, you wouldn't have as many problems as we have there. Now I'll get off my soapbox. Youth pastor wears leather wristbands and answers kids' questions is what Big T says. No, I wasn't the Frosted Tips youth pastor.
Please.
All right. So there. Off of me. Now we've
keep bringing it back to you, man. All right. So something that I read or Googled, and it's about washcloths. So it says here, and this was questions. You know me. Every time we talk, I always bring it back.
Washcloths?
Say again.
You said white people don't use washcloths?
Yeah. How did you? Did I say that, or how did you get there? How did you get to that? That's it. Did I say it?
That's a stereotype. It's true for the most part, but it is a stereotype. There was an episode of Chappelle show back, early 2000s when that was out, where he did like trading spouses, and so he played, black father going to a white family and living there, and then the white father going to the black family and living there. And that was one of the jokes in there, is he picked up the bar soap and there was like hair stuck to it because they don't use washcloths there. But that is a very true thing about most white people. T is laughing.
Yeah, I was just Googling it. I didn't know if that was, because I was going to ask you true, because it says here, because questions black people want to ask white people, why you all don't use washcloths. Firstly, I had to look up washcloth. Yeah, I had to look it up because I wasn't sure what the washcloth was. I thought it might have been a towel, but it isn't, is it? It's the little.
No, it's not. Towel's what
Yeah,
you dry the water off of you with
yeah.
when you get out.
So in the UK, we call them flannel. Do you use
Okay.
that term up in the US? Flannel?
We have flannel, but if I say let me go get my flannel, it's a shirt. It's like a button up plaid. It's very much it's just like a plaid button down, but it's made of flannel.
All right, yeah. Okay, no. Flannel is what you can wash your face with. Or growing up, when you have West Indian parents, we used to just call it a rag. Say what you see, mate.
We say rag before.
Oh, you guys
but
do? All right. Damn. No, I don't hear that term now.
Instead of a washcloth, some people will call them a wash rag.
All right. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I read it, and this girl Susan Nelson says, I have washcloth post-traumatic stress disorder. I dearly love my parents, but there was one goddamn washcloth in the shower, and it was supposed to be for everyone. What the hell was that about? That means it could have washed. Yeah, it could have washed my dad's ass, mom's cooch, my brother's balls, and then my face.
That's true. All right. So, all right. I'm half joking when I say this. It's soap, right? Whatever it touches, it cleans, right? So let me ask you this: if you drop soap on the floor, is the floor where it hit clean, or is the soap dirty?
I'm worried that you're asking.
Yeah, that's as soon as you said washcloth and you said differences in white people and black people, I knew exactly where you're going, because that is a real stereotype. It is mostly true. Most white people I know don't use washcloths. I don't, but I also don't share. Hold on. I also don't share a shower with anyone at my house either. My wife and I have different showers.
So, what do you use when you're having a shower then?
Bar of soap in my hands. Take the bar soap. Yeah, just rub the bar. Just take the bar soap, get it sudsing up real good, and just rub it all over and wash up, and then rinse the soap off so it doesn't have suds on it. And I do rinse my soap off. I don't want hair stuck to it, but yeah. And then stick it in a little tray where it dries, and I rinse myself off.
See, so there are subtle differences between black and white people then.
There's more than subtle differences.
And I've got another one here.
So I say when my wife and I were dating, and I would go to the house, I always thought it was funny. I never said anything, but I always thought it was funny that there would be a washcloth in the shower, and I know good and well I'll probably never use a washcloth in the shower my whole life. But the fact that we get that stereotype is.
But we all have our own, though. We all have our own. We know it's not something we share. It's like a toothbrush,
right?
Mate.
So my mother-in-law, father-in-law had also, I think, for the most part, used separate showers as well, because a lot of times they're getting ready at the same time. And my father-in-law always had a washcloth in his shower, and my mother-in-law didn't. So, yeah.
I guess you must have been a pretty well-to-do. You had 2 showers in your house.
Oh, in my house, hold on a minute. There's 3 showers. I had to count. There are 3 showers in my
You're counting how many showers?
I was. It's 3 showers, and then there's another bathroom that just has a sink and a toilet. So,
okay. So is that because you were a religious? Your parents were religious, and you had lots of brothers and sisters? Were there loads of you?
So I did have a lot of brothers and sisters because both of my parents remarried. My parents split. They divorced when I was about 8-ish, and they remarried. And so
I'm talking about living in the one house with the 3 showers. How many of you were?
Oh, I'm talking about my house right now, where I live right now.
You've got 3 showers in your house right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why I was counting. I was trying to count like I was going.
And how many people live in your house?
Me, my wife, and my daughter now. At one point, though, it was me, my wife, and all 3 of the kids. But now it's just me, my wife, and my daughter. And we each have our own bathroom. Technically, my bathroom would be the guest bathroom, that if people came to stay in our guest bedroom, then they would use the bathroom that I use.
Hold on. When you say we have our own bathroom, are you telling me what you and your missus have separate bathrooms?
Yes. Now, how do we keep coming back to me?
What I do.
So, all right. We used to share a bathroom, but we also slept in the same room. My wife and I don't sleep in the same room anymore.
Look, you're making it very difficult for me not to keep pushing questions back on you. You're married. You just told me.
I'm open. I will not lie to you about anything.
Okay,
I will not.
okay.
I will tell you whatever you ask me, unless it's something my wife has ever said to me. Do not.
Okay, fair enough.
I will. But
Okay.
no, yeah. So I snore very bad. I'm a very loud snorer, and it wakes her up or keeps her up. I go to bed later than she does, and if I get in bed, it stirs her, and then I start snoring, and she can't sleep. So we sleep in separate rooms, and it works. It's fine. But because we sleep in separate rooms, when I get up in the morning, I would have to go through the bedroom she sleeps in to get to the bathroom that would technically be our bathroom. So I just go to the bathroom that's in the hall that is the guest bathroom. If we had guests staying, that's what they would use. So that's why but all my stuff is in there now. So that's why she calls it my bathroom. She calls the guest bedroom my bedroom. So it is what it is.
So where's all your stuff? Is your stuff in the guest bedroom?
A lot of it is, but I still have some clothes and things like that in the master bedroom where she sleeps.
Okay,
yeah, but it works. It works for her. It works because she doesn't get up mad at me in the morning. So.
Yeah, I hear that.
How do we manage, Roxanne? How do we manage to have 3 kids? Roxanne, I had 3 kids before I was old enough to drink, so we were still
before you snored.
Roxanne, I'm 40 years old. My youngest kid is 20, so that'll kind of give you the age thing there.
Oh man, okay.
So anyway,
all right.
Go ahead.
So back to the questions Black people want to ask white people.
Okay.
And these are just things that I read. It says here, what the hell is a pinch of salt supposed to do? So I'm assuming that's just a phrase. You guys, you can't ever cook with just a pinch of salt, yeah?
Well, it depends on what you're cooking.
So there's some things that you can cook and put a pinch of salt in? Pinch of salt's nothing.
No, hold on. You can't do it if you're trying to actually season like a piece of meat or whatever.
Okay.
I was talking to someone at work about this yesterday. We're talking about baking thing. Hold on a minute. I'm not kidding. I never talk about this, but it just happened to come up yesterday.
Okay.
If you're gonna make cookies from scratch, so you got sugar in it and cinnamon, nutmeg, whatever whatever kind of cookies.
Yep.
A pinch of salt, which it is a specific amount, but people call it a pinch because it's a very small amount. A pinch of salt in the cookie batter actually will bring out the sugar better.
Is it?
You don't taste the salt, but it makes the sugar stand out better. So it's not, the pinch of salt is not so that you can taste the salt. It's to enhance the flavor of the other stuff. I personally, but also grew up with some soul food, and my wife cooks soul food. And so there's a lot of butter, a lot of salt.
Sorry.
A lot of butter. I guess you see what T said. What's up with letting your dog kiss you in the mouth? So they say, T, that a dog's mouth is cleaner than a human's mouth.
Who said that?
I'm just kidding. That used to be a thing people would say. So there are a lot of things that I do or would do or whatever that your average Black person would say to me, the fuck are you doing? What are you doing? Like, so germs are not a thing for me. I'm not concerned about germs in the least.
You got dogs, have you?
I do have dogs. I have my wife and I have 2 dogs, and my daughter has a dog.
You've got 3 dogs. So let's get to the question, bro. Let's get down to the question.
I don't purposely.
That's a yes, isn't it? That's a yes, isn't it, Joey?
Hold on a minute. Have they done it? Yes. I don't purposely go in to let them do it, but they have done it. Yes. And when I get home from work, the dogs are always the first person to greet me at the door from work. And I have a Great Dane, which is a big dog, and she then jumps up on the couch so that she's then looking me eye to eye.
Damn.
And she puts her head on my shoulder. So how she she hugs or whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
And there are plenty of times when she goes to put her head on my shoulder, she's just licked me right in the mouth. It's not on purpose. For me, it's not on purpose, but it happens. But whatever. I don't know. There's too many things in life for me to worry about than to worry about whether a dog licked me in my mouth or not. I don't let them stick their tongue in my mouth, but if they have,
but I think that and again, this is obviously talking with some very broad strokes, but I think on the whole, I think black people are a lot more hung up about germs than,
yes.
and and again, I'm being generalizing like crazy here, but yeah, I'll say it. I think black people are a lot more concerned about germs than white people are.
For the most part, I think that's a true statement. Yes.
Right,
But I know my brother, and I mean like real brother with an R, not brother. Joey, when we meet in person, you're getting a fist bump. So my brother, we have the same parents, and he is like 100% like, in my house, if I go to the fridge and there's something in there and I want a sip of it, but I don't want I'll drink straight from the bottle. Milk, water, jug, whatever, it doesn't matter. Now my wife doesn't like that, obviously. I mean,
so that water, milk, whatever, is that something that for the rest of the family as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, it doesn't bother my daughter at all. She does the same thing.
Right.
It doesn't bother my sons, but they don't do it as much as my daughter and I. It bothers my wife. If she sees us, we have to sneak and do it whenever she doesn't look. If we're going to do something, she is not happy about it when we do it. But yeah, but again, differences in white people and black people. But yeah, I mean, I'm not concerned about germs in the least, like at all. Like, during all this COVID shit, I only wore a mask whenever it was required to. Like, and it's not because I'm anti-mask. I'm not. I'm just not concerned about the germ. I know that if I were to get it, I got a really good immune system. That I almost never get sick. Like, honestly, I almost never get sick. Maybe a little cough here and there, but not enough to miss work, really. So, anyway.
Okay. So, all right. What else have I got here? Why you wear shorts in the winter? Is that obviously that should be.
Now I had on pants and on jeans when we went out today, but it was also like 72 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't know what that comes out to in Celsius.
No, right, but it sounds pretty hot. We got some cold.
It was quite warm. I was sweating walking around looking for a tree. But some of us wear shorts. When I was young, I wore shorts year round because I got very hot. But I would have I might have a sweatshirt or jacket or something on, but I would have on shorts. But as I'm getting older, I'm starting to get cold easier. I think it happens to everybody regardless of race. But yeah, I will wear shorts sometimes in the winter, especially around the house. But yeah, I think that one's less. That's probably somebody wrote that one who lives in an area where it doesn't get quite as cold.
Yeah. So. All right. Here's my last one then. Why did you raid the world for spice and then never use them?
Maybe we weren't raiding the world for spice. Maybe we were raiding the world trying to get somebody to teach us how to use it. Maybe that's what it was. He said he wears shorts in the winter too, but he's an enigma.
Oh, please.
Yeah. So, all right. I've got a question from white guy's perspective. It's something that I've noticed.
Great stuff.
And again, it is broad strokes because I definitely know people that don't fit this stereotype.
Of course.
But in general, every black male that I know is very I'm trying to think of how to really get my point across. It's very much don't joke around. You don't joke around with him about being gay or anything like that. Whether you're gay or not, it's a thing. Like there was a guy at work that came in. Everybody thinks he's gay or whatever, and
is he?
I don't know if he is or not. If he's not, he missed a really good opportunity. But there's a saying in the South and maybe other places in the U.S. The saying South is like, he may not be gay, but I bet he'd hold a dick in his mouth until he went soft.
What the hell, man?
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people in the South say that. He may not be gay, but I bet he'll hold a dick in his mouth till it goes down. Yeah.
Oh, please.
So anyway, but if you joke around with one of the guys there, if you joke around with him about, I saw you having to work with that guy, you got something you want to tell me, and that it's like, it's very offensive. It's very adamant. Hell no. But the majority of black men that I've ever met are very much like that. It's like it has to be pushed out there. I am not gay. I am not. And I don't, because Steven and I joke around about that shit all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, that's a running joke here, is that if we're having a good time, you don't see what's happening under the table.
So. Yeah, that is a tough one, and I have to be careful I answer, because yes, definitely, and that's everywhere in West Indies, in Jamaica. Yeah, a lot of them are anti-gay, anti-homosexual.
You're not anti-gay, you're anti everyone thinking you're gay.
Right. Yeah, but why would you be against that? Why would that concern you?
All right. But I know some gay people that are very quick to tell people that they're gay, not straight. Like, I'm not into women or what. I know some gay guys that are like that. And it's considered acceptable in modern society now for a gay person to say things like that. But a straight person is not, especially a straight male. You're not allowed to kind of say some of those same things. Just like Steven has said before, he's like, I have no problem with what two gay people do in the bedroom. Just like I have no problem with two straight people do in the bedroom or whatever. I don't care. He said, I don't want to see it, but that doesn't mean I have a problem with it. I'm scared of it or think you shouldn't be allowed to do it. Like, I don't want to see it. I don't,
Yeah, I had a similar conversation, and someone said to me that you'd probably be surprised at what some straight couples get up to in the bedroom.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I thought that was a great answer. And to be honest, as a young black guy growing up, yeah, a lot of the guys around me probably had the same, I'll say anti-gay mindset. Yes, you don't want to be classed as homosexual, but the older I get, the more I realize that, it's more about probably living and let live. And as again, what somebody once said to me, really, if it's not something that affects you, why would you be so concerned about it? And yes, if the two guys are sleeping together, how does that really affect me?
That face. You didn't even like saying it.
Say again?
I said, what, you made a face as you said that. It's almost like you didn't even like to say it.
Well, I've probably got friends now. If they're listening, they're probably thinking, "What's this guy saying?" or what. But the older I get, the more I think that just to find someone you love and who loves you is probably a blessing. I mean, I think my main concern is more about it being promoted in schools to an extent when you have 6-year-olds questioning their sexual identity and stuff like that. I mean, when I was 6, I was so busy just playing football. I wasn't thinking about those sort of things. Now I think society is getting kids at that young age thinking about things that they really shouldn't be worried about.
Because you shouldn't be teaching heterosexuality or any sexuality at, in that age group. I agree with that. I'm relatively conservative when it comes to some of those things, but in general, I'm very much a live and let live person. I think if whatever you're doing is hurting no one else, even if it's hurting you, if it's hurting no one else, you should be allowed to do it. Like,
of course,
no matter what it is. So
of course, the other thing that goes in my mind as well is that black people were being persecuted because of who they are. So I then have to obviously question, how can I then persecute someone for being who they are if they like someone of the same sex? If I try to persecute them, isn't that similar to being persecuted for who I am, which is what used to happen,
Yeah.
the things that I went through growing up. So yeah, those sort of questions just run through my mind, and it is one of those subjects which, if I could evade, I probably would evade because it is a
Touchy in today's society, especially
yeah.
if you've got something to lose.
Mm.
If you're a celebrity, for sure you just kind of stay away from some
Yeah,
of
for
that stuff.
sure.
But
For sure.
I think so. I have a little bit of a theory on the how adamant most of the black guys I know are at saying they're not gay if it comes up, and I think it's because I think it's an evolutionary thing that dates back to the slave trade, because
Okay.
so much of the identity has been taken away, and so much there's so much emasculation that took place
Yeah.
in that.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of I would venture to say, and I don't know, I can't remember if you grew up with a single mother or not. So let's just, if you did or didn't, whatever. But
Yeah.
a lot
Talk
of
it.
black men in the 60s and 70s taught their sons to be a man. You're
Right.
a man and you stand up for being a man, or whatever,
Yeah.
whatever it is. You're a man. You don't let anybody back you down or put you down or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of that stems from
Yeah, yeah, I
from
agree with that because
uh,
I did grow up with my dad. My dad was one of the lucky ones. My dad was around, so yeah, and actually, yeah, I think what you said makes perfect sense, and has a lot of truth to it as well. And has a lot of truth to it as well.
Oh, dumbass dude. So is this I'm not sure. Dumbass
Ah,
dude podcast? Is this
yeah.
Evan? So Evan, we had him on a few weeks ago
Which one's
from
Evan? There was a black guy there, and there was a
that was him. That was Evan.
yeah.
So Evan, if this is you, I'm assuming this is Evan. Evan, this is Andre, who Stephen called eloquent, and Evan corrected Stephen. He's busting his balls because Stephen didn't do it in the way that a lot of white people would do it, but Stephen said Andre is a very eloquent motherfucker, and
I'll take that.
and Evan said, just for future reference, you should never tell a black man that they're eloquent, because you wouldn't say that to a white guy.
See.
He's breaking Stephen's balls a little bit, but anyway, yeah. So, Joey asked, my guy, is racism highlighted in the UK as much as it is in America? So this is Trevor
Ah,
again. Is racism as big
no.
a topic in the UK as it is in the US?
Well, ever since the Floyd guy got kneeled on, it's become big over here. But we haven't got police killing black people the way it's running in America. But nevertheless, yes, everyone's talking about taking the knee, and companies are now actively trying to show that they are trying to make things more equal in the office, in the sense that, of course, as in, I'm sure in America, we still have this imbalance in most companies where there are more white people than black people, and the higher up the ladder you go, the less black people you will see.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we're not being murdered on the streets. Wasn't there some geezer, who got shot in a wheelchair the other day? Was he black?
I haven't heard this story. Honestly, this is news to me, but I also try to stay out
Okay.
of the news a lot because
All right. Well, some
I
guy
don't
got
like
shot
news.
about
I
8
don't
times.
like, yeah, I don't
8
like
times. So I'm
conservative
assuming.
media or liberal media.
All right.
So
So I'm
I
assuming he was black. I didn't see it properly, but he got shot about 8 times while he was in a wheelchair in the back, I think it was. So I just assumed. I
that's
just
interesting
assumed he was black.
because I feel like the media, unless it's Fox News, which is super right leaning and conservative news, most of our media over here is pretty liberal, at least our mainstream media. And they're anytime a black person is getting shot, especially if it's by the cops or by a white person, that gets put out there a lot more now than it used to,
Oh,
for right or for wrong, whatever. I mean, however your opinion is on that. I mean, it gets put out there a lot more. I mean, there was a cop shooting of a, and you know what, I'm not even gonna bring it up because I'm not trying to compare killing of
yeah, I know
one
where
black.
you're going, but talk it. Let me hear it.
Well, no, I was going to say there was a shooting, and you can find the video. I can't remember the guy's name, but I think it was in Arizona. There was a white guy who had been hired by somebody. He was a pest control, but he carried around a pellet gun, like a BB gun, pellet gun. I don't know if you guys have those over there, whatever.
No,
But
we
a
don't,
pellet
but
gun,
I know.
he used that during the pest control. He set the traps, whatever. But if you saw something, then he would shoot the rodent or whatever on site, whatever. And he was in his hotel room with his girlfriend, wife, whoever. I don't know. And the curtains were open, and some people at the pool saw him, and he had the pellet rifle in there, and he was like moving it in the room, like moving it from somewhere, setting it down somewhere. He wasn't waving it around or anything, to the best of my remembrance. But somebody from the pool saw him. They saw him, called the police. The police show up. Go ahead.
I just don't understand how it works in the US. Isn't guns illegal in the US, aren't they?
No. Oh, did you say legal or illegal?
Legal.
Yes, they are legal. Yes.
So why are the police showing up if someone's looked through a window and seen a man with a gun in his house?
Because oftentimes people exaggerate when they call the police, especially white people will exaggerate when they call the police. And they will say, I'm at this such and such hotel, whatever. I'm at the Holiday Inn on such and such road, and I see a guy in his room through the curtain, see through his window, and he's waving a gun around.
Okay.
An exaggeration. Even if he didn't wave the gun around, if they saw the gun, it's going to exaggerate. And I'll go out and say it. A white woman's going to exaggerate way worse than any white man would. A white man will still do it too, but white people exaggerate when they call the police. Anyway, police show up. 2 cops, they show up. They knock on the door. The girl comes out. They holler at the guy to come out. The guy's got a gun on him. The video I saw was from the police, the body camera. And they tell the guy, get on the ground. He gets on the ground. They tell him, put your hands behind your head, cross your legs. And then they start telling him, all right, come toward us, like crawl toward us or whatever. Well, naturally, you have to uncross your legs and move your hands from behind your head so you can start to crawl toward them. And he's laying there in a T-shirt and a pair of like gym shorts, like basketball shorts.
I've seen this.
You have? Yeah. And so he starts to move and they tell him, cross your legs, blah, blah. They yell at him again, cross your legs, whatever. And he does. And he's like telling him, like, I don't have a gun. I don't have a gun. Like, please don't. He's begging, please do not shoot me.
Right.
And they say, all right, if you reach for your shorts or your pants, whatever, again, we're going to kill you.
Whew.
And they say, start coming towards us. And he does, and his shorts start to come down, and he pulls them up, and the guy unloads on him.
Oh, no.
The guy's on his face on the ground, and they unload on him and kill him. And never made the news. Never made the news.
Was he white?
Yes.
It wasn't like Hawaiian or something like that?
No, he was straight up white guy.
Okay.
And
they never made the news.
It never made the news, and whatever. I don't like the news anyway, but it never made the news because it doesn't fit the narrative.
Yeah, I hear that.
The narrative right now is that the United States is the most racist place in the world, and we've never been more racist than we are now. That gets said a lot over here.
When reality, that US has always been racist. It was racist now as it used to be.
I think it's less racist than it used to be. Would you rather live in the U.S. now, or would you rather live in the U.S. 100 years ago? As a black guy,
live in the UK.
Sure, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, I'm just being obstinate.
Eventually, when the U.S. takes over the world, we're done at some point.
We're doomed.
Like that's how you decide. I mean, that's how you decide if That's how you decide if the U.S. is more racist now than it ever has been. Do you want to live in the U.S. right now, or do you want to live in the U.S. in the 1850s?
No, nobody wants to live. No black person wants to live in the U.S.
Right. And I'm not saying that there's no racism here. I'm not saying that at all. There absolutely is. I mean, dealt with it in my family. I've dealt with it toward my family. I mean, it just is what it is. But it's not as bad as it used to be.
Yeah, you see, to black people, that's just not saying anything. That's not telling me anything.
All right.
You're telling me that, 100 years ago, we shoot you in sight. Now we shoot you when you move. If to us that is semantics.
I get that, but even that statement is way over exaggerated.
Of course, of course, for the dramas, for the
And I
effect of
hate,
it.
I sometimes I hate having this conversation because it's, especially when I'm have to take the stance that I'm having to take now. I mean, you're taking a stance, I'm taking a
Of
stance. I
course,
hate that.
I understand. I
Because
understand.
if you could take any clip out of this conversation and ruin my life if anybody could, whatever.
But that's why I rate you, because you know what I mean, you'll still take the mantle. You don't back away from it.
Yeah.
I push these difficult scenarios and you still answer. You still ask me to come on.
If I may speak for every white person, it's what people in general are saying when they say this is not as racist as it used to be. They're not saying we're all good. We're saying you don't want me to say that there is no racism in this country, but I don't want you to say that it's just as bad as it was. We are progressing. This country has way progressed over the last 150 years than what it used to be.
150 years. So basically, we wait another 150 years. So it's not gonna be any good during your lifetime. But if you're lucky, your kids might see some progress. Is that what you're telling us?
No, we're just saying, let's acknowledge, let's call out the bad. But if we're gonna, we're saying, most people are saying, don't only call out the bad. At least acknowledge the good. It's my youngest son, when over the last year, the George Floyd murder and some of the stuff that happened afterwards, my son was like, if you're a good cop, you should be quitting right now. You should quit the force and not be a policeman anymore. My youngest son said that. And I said, well, no, he's like, yeah, why would you want to be a part of that? I'm like, no, if all the good cops quit, then you're going to have nothing but cops that are just out there shooting anybody willy-nilly. I mean,
good point.
You have to have good cops stand up and say no to a bad cop. You're making us all look bad. What's the phrase you say? We have to call our own. That's it. White people should be calling out ignorant ass white people. Black people should be doing the same. East Indian, you should be calling out your group of people. I mean, the ones that make your group of people look bad. White guy. If there's a white person that makes white guys look bad, then I should be going, oh, that guy's an asshole. Don't listen to him. He doesn't speak for the rest of us. This is how most of us feel. Because most people in the U.S. are somewhere in the middle. We don't fall left or right. Most of us are in the middle.
Yeah.
It just happens to be that the loud assholes on the right and the loud assholes on the left are the ones that are the loudest. But I think that's a lot of it. In general, people are tired of hearing only the bad.
They're tired of hearing
only bad stuff.
Oh, right.
They're not saying I don't want to hear bad stuff. They're saying I don't want to only hear bad stuff.
Yeah, I can hear that. I can understand that. That makes sense.
If the good is never praised, then what's the point? And now I think you should do good whether you get praise or not. But I'm just saying, not everyone is like that. But
so what sort of good do you think is going on that's not being praised, we're not hearing about?
I think you have Big T's putting, it's a catch-22 when you're in that fraternity. When people hold your future in their hands, it causes you to look the other way, unfortunately. I'm going to come back to what you asked me, Andre, because I disagree with what T just said.
Right.
Take the Me Too movement, for example. Harvey Weinstein and a lot of those big wigs in Hollywood that held everyone's future in your hands. All the actresses then eventually got together and decided enough, and you get those people out of there. So I'm not saying one good cop can change it all, but I'm saying if all the good cops would get together, you could get the people in charge out. I mean, think about it. It happens all the time when you have a CEO of a company say something that just gets taken the wrong way,
right?
And they lose their job, and that's because little peons are getting them fired, or making them quit or whatever. So I disagree with that, T. I think there's a lot of, I personally know people that are doing a lot of good, helping out communities and things like that.
Yeah, sure.
And a lot of those types of situations. I mean, I work for a company that decided, I fucking know what you're going to say after I say this too. I know I work for a company that decided this past year that from now on, Juneteenth is going to be a paid holiday. We're going to recognize that as a paid holiday.
What's going to be a paid holiday?
Juneteenth. It's widely understood, and someone will correct me because I won't get everything right, but it's widely understood as God, I'm gonna fuck this shit up, but here we go. Juneteenth is the 19th of June, and it's the time when the word finally reached the last enslaved black people in the U.S. that they were free. It's that day. I forget how long it took from when Lincoln abolished slavery. Right. It took a fucking long time for the word to get to, like in Texas or wherever.
I'm sure. Was. I'm sure it did.
That's celebrated.
They wouldn't know rush.
Well, I guess not. But I mean, I'm sure Trevor and T could either of you guys or any, whatever, I can say that better than me. Black Independence Day, basically. That's what T said. Juneteenth is basically Black Independence Day in the U.S.
Okay.
So June 19th. But my company decided this is an important thing. We should actually recognize this as a company paid holiday. And so I think there's a lot of things like that.
So what happens on June 19th? Does everybody get the holiday or just the black guys?
Everybody. It's a paid holiday.
Okay.
Yeah, everybody.
I'm just being silly. Don't worry.
Oh, I know you are. No, I mean, so I think there's a lot of things like that go on.
Yeah, I never heard of that Juneteenth holiday. Okay.
Anyway, and I can't tell you a bunch of it. I can only tell you a few things where people I know are doing good.
Yeah, but yeah, you're right. I agree. And yeah, and I think that's always the way, though. You know, I mean, people don't want to hear good news; they only want to hear bad news. It's bad news that sells.
It does, but that's the thing. The news used to never be a money-making thing. It never was meant to be a money-making. It actually used to cost networks money. Yeah. And then they, when with the advent of cable news and 24-hour-a-day news channels, you had to sell ad space, and shit sells. I mean, I get it. Trevor said MLK is a paid holiday now. It started like Trevor, I've worked at companies most of my working adult life where MLK was a paid holiday.
What's MLK?
So, Martin Luther King. Yeah. Yep. Falls in January. Yep. First holiday in the year after the new year.
Okay.
So, but anyway, yeah. So, I feel like there was something else I was going to say just a minute ago. I can't remember what it was. Oh, I know this is not what I was thinking of, but I had something I was going to ask you about.
Go for it.
The Dave Chappelle special came out a month or so ago, and he's getting a lot of flack for it, which is not really affecting him any, really. I mean, but I wondered, have you watched it?
Are we talking about I don't know, what's the term? Is it LBG? The LBG?
It's called, the special's called The Closer. It came out on Netflix, and the special is titled The Closer, and it's Dave Chappelle, and he's getting a lot of flack from the LGBTQIA plus whatever other letter is in there now.
Right.
He's getting a lot of flack from some of that. So anyway, I wondered if you had seen that comedy special.
I think I've seen the highlights of it.
Okay.
Not the whole thing. Yeah.
What did you think of what he was saying? And then we'll go from there.
That's a tough one for me because I'm not sure I remember it correctly, but I think it's the old story where And I think your chap Hunter might have touched on it.
Okay.
I think comedians now, it's may not be enough to just be funny. You have to be a little bit, I don't know, radical or whatever that term is. And you have to look for that shock value. And I'm assuming that's what he's doing by saying the things
Yeah,
that he's saying.
I don't think that's it.
No.
I think that is happening. A lot of people are having to have some shock value, but I think if you have to have shock value, you're probably not a very good comedian. Um, but I don't think that's what he's doing. So, I think he has a point, and it's a very good point, and it has to do with disparity between races in the U.S. And he's using he's using transgender mainly to
Right.
get his point across.
Okay.
But he said multiple times during the special, listen to what I'm saying. He would say, listen to what I'm saying. You're not listening to me. Listen to what I'm saying. And that's the thing. Even people that are on his side, I've heard them say what he's saying, and they're still wrong.
Right.
Like, and it's, yeah. I don't, I do, and I don't envy him. But I think he is the voice of a generation. I think it comes along once every 40 or 50 years. I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
I think Richard Pryor was one.
Yeah.
And I think Dave Chappelle is now one.
What about God, what's the guy just before him? I forgot his name. Oh dear.
Just before who?
Chappelle. Who's the other black comedian?
Eddie
What should I have?
Murphy.
No, the in between Eddie Murphy and it'll come to me later. But there's Hey T, you should know Big T. Who's the after just before Dave Chappelle? There was an after Eddie Murphy, the black comedian that hit the like button. No, that's not him. All right, anyway, it'll come to me. I'll bring it up later on when it comes to me. I can't remember who he is at the moment. I can't
Yeah.
remember who he is at the moment. But I've got something I want to ask, but it's obviously it's a bit of a strange one, I guess. But I guess
Go
I'll
ahead.
ask it anyway. And of course, it's still on the racial theme. Yeah,
Yeah.
Chris Rock.
Chris Rock. There you go. I think he did a little bit of that, but I don't think he pushed as much of. I feel like Chris Rock pushed a lot of differences in races, and Dave Chappelle's pushing a lot of disparity between races.
All right, Chris Rock for
I think,
me is the
yeah,
man.
Chris Rock.
He
Gregory,
said a
that's
lot of
fine.
controversial stuff, which I liked. But
He did.
all right. As always, questions, and I'm still staying on this whole racial theme. What's your thoughts on black people who use the N word? We hear, as something I normally ask a lot of black people, but I'm not sure I've ever asked someone who's white. I'm not
You
sure
mean
if you've even got any views on it.
am are you asking, am I okay with them, or are you asking,
No,
do I
what's
think
your thoughts?
do I,
What's your actual thoughts on black people using the N word?
it's
Not
day to
even if
day
you're
life. It doesn't affect me one way or the other. I
so.
never. All right. No, I'm gonna be. No, I'm gonna. And I don't know if this will make people mad or not. And I don't care. In my general day to day life in public, I never have the urge to use the N word with an R or an A, one way or the other.
Oh
I
yeah,
don't.
you guys in the US, you differentiate, don't you?
Yes. Yeah. Well, okay. Hold on a minute.
Or is it only black
White
people in the
people
US who
aren't allowed.
differentiate?
Yes, black people differentiate. White people aren't allowed to say it at all, and I'm fine with that. I don't give whatever. Who cares? Like, as far as that I'm not allowed to say. But hard R is, you don't do that. That's racist. Um,
Hard R.
and black people to each other say it with an A at the end.
Yeah.
Um, in my normal day to day life at work, out at the grocery store, pushing around my trolley. Um, I never have the urge. Doesn't matter. Like, I just don't. But if I'm here at home with my wife and kids, and one of my kids does something crazy or funny, I do have the urge to say it. And there's a particular way that it gets said because my kids say it to each other. There's a particular way it gets said, and I can't get the point across without saying it, and I'm not going to do that because that's a line I guess I can't cross.
Okay.
I'm not sure, but I do have the urge occasionally when one of my kids just says something outlandish or stupid or funny or whatever to say it to them with that exclamation point at the end of surprise. I do. T says what? I'm not sure what you're saying what about, T. But I'm not sure what you're asking what about. But anyway. But I do have that urge with my kids, but I don't.
Okay.
But,
so then
but I will say this. Hold on a minute. I got one thing.
Good.
There is a difference between someone that uses it and someone that says it. If you come to me, if I'm standing in a parking lot and I see a white guy and a black guy arguing with each other, and the white guy calls the black guy an N-word with the hard R.
Yeah.
And then the police show up to break up a fight, and they interview me and say, what happened? And that's it. They're arguing. This guy, white guy says this. What did he say? I'm going to say it because I'm going to repeat what the guy said.
Yeah.
That's someone that says the word. Someone that uses the word is that white guy in the argument.
Yeah.
And there's a difference.
Yeah.
And so, there's a difference. Anyway.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. I think you guys are really, I think the word is bigger in the US than the UK, which is, I think it is. Yeah, I think it is. Which is interesting because it's used more in the US than it is in the UK. So you don't think it's strange that black people are using that word to each other?
Yes and no. I don't. So I heard this come up with you guys, and I heard Easy's stance on it. And he took the stance that I knew he was going to take that stance before he ever started talking. I knew that's how he felt about it. And so I understand and agree with his stance on it, but I also understand and agree with the stance people say we've taken the word back and we're taking the power away from it. I understand and agree both of those. The only thing that I have to concern myself with is that I'm not allowed to say it. So and that's fine with me. I don't care. It's fine with me.
So do you think it's worked? Black people trying to take the word back or take the power away from it. Do you think it's worked?
No.
Nor do I.
Yeah, because if you and I got into an argument and I said it to you, it's still going to cut just as much as it used to. So it still has the power. And really, if anything, you've not taken the power back from that word. You've just created another word that sounds similar to it. Yeah, I mean, really and truly, because it's not even pronounced the same or spelled the same or
Yeah, but that's the US. We in the UK, we don't. We have the first time I heard about the hard R and the A. It's just recently. I think one of our shows when I brought it up. Before that, I'd never heard it described like that. I just thought it was one word.
Yep.
So I'm learning myself. Yeah.
So I keep forgetting things. Like I have these things and they pop into my mind as we talk, and then I forget them. So I saw a news article, and I've held on to this for at least a month because I knew I was going to be talking to you. But
good.
Imperial College. I think that's over in the UK. I think.
Yeah.
I cannot remember. I tried to pull the article up, but for whatever reason, it's locked out and I can't see it. Oh, well, here it is. Yes, it is. I had it, and now it went away. Imperial College was told to remove the bust of a slavery abolitionist because he, quote, might now be called a racist. and I can't see the name because the article won't load all the way. They've taken the article down or something, put it behind a paywall. I'm not sure. But anyway, an abolitionist there. I can't think of the guy's name. I can't remember the guy's name, but I'll try to look it up. But I wanted to know about that. If there's more to that story than maybe I didn't hear. And
All
then
right.
if not, then what your thoughts were on that.
So again, I'm going to show my ignorance here, but an abolitionist is someone what against slavery?
Yes, they were part of trying to have slavery ended.
And now you're saying that people are trying to rip down the statue.
They were told they have to take the statue down
By whom?
because that's what I'm trying to get to. I can't see the whole article.
I see.
Anyway, but the quote was,
what university? What was that? Where was that?
Imperial College. Let me see if this is the article. Let me see if this is a different article. Let's see here. Imperial College told to remove bust of a slavery abolitionist because he might now be called a racist. It says Imperial College London has been told to remove a bust of slavery abolitionist Thomas Henry Huxley because he, quote, might now be called racist. An independent history group for the Russell Group University has recommended that his bust be taken down and the Huxley building on campus be renamed. This movement was launched in the wake of Black Lives Matter protests last year to address Imperial's links to the British Empire and build a fully inclusive organization. Anyway.
Oh yeah, no, I was just having a quick look at it while you were talking, but it doesn't really go into details as to why. So I don't know. But what about the actual whole idea of removing statues? That's something I had a discussion with my my manager. He's not where I work anymore, but we had this whole discussion about it, and he was basically saying that you can't, I don't know, rewrite history or change history, and removing statues is, it's not the way to go about it, and stuff like that. So what are your thoughts on this whole concept of black people demanding or that statues are removed, and if not, removing them themselves?
Don't think that I think it's mostly woke or progressive liberal white people that are making the demands. I don't think it's mainly black people making those demands. I think most black people that I have conversations about race with think we have bigger issues than whether there's a statue sitting on that college campus. Taking that statue down doesn't change what a black person deals with day to day.
Yeah, you're sure right. I agree with that. But at the same time, is it wrong to do you think it's a waste of time? Is it wrong to want those statues removed?
I don't think it's wrong to want them removed. I think it's a waste of time and money to go about trying to remove all that. Although I would say, Germany's done a pretty damn good job at removing most of their stuff, from the Nazi rule. But I think another, this is another one of those things where we in the U.S. throw the baby out with the bathwater. Where it's a statue of Andrew Jackson. Happens to be from Tennessee.
Okay.
Did lots and lots of good for this country, but he also happened to fight with the South in the Civil War. And if somebody will correct me, I'm sure. I don't remember what his stance was on slavery, but
so if he fought for the South, weren't the South trying to keep slaves?
Well, yes, but not everybody that fought with the South was fighting for slavery. A lot of people joined the Confederate Army to fight against having their towns and their cities burned to the ground by the Union Army coming through. Now, I'm not saying that is an excuse for fighting for the Confederates. I'm fully on the side of the Union as far as the stance on slavery and all that. But Andrew Jackson did a ton of good for this country, and even as president, helped to try to eradicate the Fed, which financially helped this country a lot, and it's things like that. But because he fought with the Confederates, he cannot be exalted at all, is the thing. And this kind of goes back to what I said, like we like to call out the bad, but not the good over here a lot lately. And it's like, you can't say something good about someone that did something bad. For instance, in a lot of circles, I would never be able to say Bill Cosby was one funny motherfucker. His comedy special, Bill Cosby himself, is still to this day one of the funniest comedy specials that has ever been put out. You can't say that anymore. It's some bad shit. So you can't. It's like separating the art from the artist. You know,
right.
It's like people let you do that anymore, and so you know we do a lot of only pointing out the bad and not pointing out the good. But I mean, whatever. If if statues of people that may or may not have owned slaves or whatever need to come down for people to feel comfortable, fine. But I would ask somebody, like, why does a statue? That's
What's
not
the
the
point
big in this country.
What's the point of a statue?
I don't know. I'm sure it's to honor somebody.
Yeah, so I guess black people struggle.
All right. So what if to save money, then we put up a plaque that said the good things and the bad things that the person did, instead of spending money to take the statue down? What if we spent less money and put up a plaque that said, this guy did this. He also did this. Well, he did some of this, but he also did some of this. No one is all good or all bad. So, I don't know.
Maybe we should have statues of Hitler. What about statues of Hitler then? You think America could have statues of Hitler out?
If you put one of his paintings next to it, sure. No, I'm just, I'm. But was Hitler all good? I mean, was Hitler all bad?
Well, that's my point. I don't know. Is everybody all bad? I'm assuming.
No one's all
some
bad.
Germans, he had some good as well.
I mean, Germans, sure, there was some good in it. He helped build up the automotive industry over there. I mean, without Hitler, you don't have some of the best cars that the world ever saw.
All right. See, I didn't know that. I don't know anything good about Hitler. They're not going to teach you that in school. I don't know anything good about Hitler.
No, for sure they're not. And that's there. I think with every bad person in history, there is some good that can be learned from them.
Yeah.
Like Trevor just said, leave the statues up. I dislike the USA trying to remove history. I do worry myself that with each step we take in the quote progressive movement, that I think that's the problem with calling it the progressive movement. Naturally, society progresses in most cases. Naturally, as more and more generations pass, people are more and more accepting of things.
Yeah, but what the problem with that is that it takes so long that you have generations that have to live through all types of horrors. I'm sure even in slavery, the people who were first dragged over from Africa probably didn't have it as bad as the people who were born into slavery. But nevertheless,
probably. But I think we're at a different. I don't know how to get my point. I don't know how to get across what I'm actually trying to say. I think the problem with the progressive movement is there is no end. There's no, not that there's no end to progress, but there's no like, we've made it, I guess is what I'm saying. Because we can see now where the Me Too movement was, the beginning of that was a good thing. We're calling out people that were lording power over women and getting sexual favors for getting them parts in movies and things like that.
Right.
To the point now where there's no difference between Jesus Christ, what is the guy? He was a senator, a legislator from one state, but he used to be on Saturday Night Live. I can't think of his name. Jesus Christ, someone watching, please let me know. Anyway,
Yeah.
he went and toured like one of the USO things. He went, I think he did some stand up and then also as a politician or whatever, maybe.
Yeah.
And there's a photo of him clearly making a joke because he's looking and smiling at the camera.
Okay.
Where there's a woman that was there with him to tour and see this who had fallen asleep, and he's just doing like this, like he's fixing to grab her tits.
Okay.
And it's clearly a joke.
Right.
But he is no different than Bill Cosby. He has to lose his job and not be allowed to do anything anymore. And that's a problem. We've went from a good thing to, well, I can't remember what, but I heard a comedian say this one time, but it's like, used to, if you were not racist, that's a good thing. Now that's not enough. You can't not be racist. Now you have to be anti-racist and act and so I mean I won't say now you can't just be anti-racist. You have to be not racist, you have to be anti-racist, but now you also have to actively try to hunt out and weed out people that may be racist.
I don't know about that. You might,
No,
yeah. I think people do expect you to be anti-racist, but I don't think people expect you now to go hunting out. But that's like saying, if I go to a bank with my friends and they rob the bank, and I don't actually assist them, but I'm there. As we know, I'm still guilty, and I'm assuming you agree with that. So I guess in the same sense, if
I don't. I don't know what the legal system says. I don't know what it is in the UK or here. But if you and four guys go to the bank, you have no idea they're going to rob the bank, and you just happen to be there, and they rob the bank. I don't know how. I mean, if you got a good lawyer, you're not going to go to jail for it. I mean, but I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know. Because should you try to stop them? Do you think you should?
No, I don't. Well, no, I don't think. No, I don't think.
But see, that's
I
what
don't
I'm
think
saying.
if you don't try to stop them, I don't think that
you've
done anything wrong if you don't try to stop them.
But see, we've gotten at that point now where if you aren't actively trying to stop someone from being racist or sexist or homophobic or whatever,
have we really got to that point? I'm not sure.
We've really gotten to that point now where if there were a celebrity, it mainly is going to happen to people in power or with celebrity. I mean, a random person on the street like me, it's not going to happen to, because what if anybody? You can't cancel me. I have nothing to cancel. I mean, I don't get paid to do this podcast, so you can't take this from me. So, but if I were a celebrity and I saw a white person berating or saying racist things to a black person, and I didn't actively try to stop it, in lots of cases now, I'm considered guilty as well.
Right. Well, yeah, that does make any sense to me, because if you don't try to stop it, there may be multiple reasons why. You might literally just don't want to get any flack from the person yourself. So yeah, no, that I don't understand. But I see that Trevor Jackson says, leave them up. I dislike the USA trying to remove history.
Yes.
And that's why I asked that question. Do you agree with that statement?
To leave them up?
Because trying to remove history.
I sort of.
So do you think that removing...
I don't think removing statues is erasing history, but I also don't think that it will stop at removing statues. I think that the next progressive step is going to get to the point where we now don't even teach about it. And at that point, how do we learn from our mistakes?
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, definitely I agree with what you said about the second part. Removing statues, I don't think has anything to do with history, mate. If you want about history, you go to a museum. I don't think statues are there to help history in any way. Statues are there, as like you said, so that you can, I don't know,
it's honoring someone.
Yeah, honor. Yeah, exactly.
And I agree with that. I don't think removing statues is a bad thing. I just don't think it's going to stop there. And so at some point we have to put our foot down and go, no, we're not moving any farther to that side of this, because the next step after that is what? And then what about after that? So I'm
Well,
not saying I'm also
but
not putting my foot down at removing statues. I
but
don't
if
care.
but
I
if
just
you've
don't
got
like.
multiple things that are incorrect, then as black people, or then we have no option but to address them one at a time. So yes, once you remove um, statues which of people who are being honored, and we know that they've done bad things against black people, once those have been removed, I don't think you should be surprised or angry or upset if black people then move on to the next thing that is incorrect, because I believe there
No,
are multiple things that are incorrect with US, UK,
yeah,
and yes, and they all need to be addressed, and that's how you
I
address them. You
agree with
address them one
I
by
agree
one.
with everything you're saying, but I also don't believe that the majority of people yelling out about statues, I don't think that most of them are black. I think most of them are um,
Yeah,
white. Um, um, what are the,
yeah,
what are they?
they may
A
well be,
word.
but I think I touched on this before, and I think unfortunately that black people are in a scenario where to get things done, they actually need the voice of white people as well.
Yeah,
Without the
yeah.
voice of white people, then
I don't disagree
mm,
with that is part of it. Um, and I don't have a problem with the other things you said, like removing statues. I don't have a problem with removing statues. Um, and I also don't have a problem with then the next step being to correct something that is incorrect. I don't have a problem with that. I think that what my problem is how we've started to define what is incorrect and correct.
mm,
That's where my problem is. We've started to change the definition of things. Like I said, it's no longer it's not enough to not be racist. It's not enough to be anti-racist. You got to actively seek out a you know righting the wrong or whatever. Um,
yep,
um, I but I also think that there are bigger issues regarding race and disparity between the races, and bigger issues um,
yeah.
affecting the black community than a statue.
I concur. I concur with that.
I don't think that that's where the focus should be. I think that we should be working big to small. And I think there are bigger issues than a statue. I couldn't tell
Mm,
you what the biggest issue is. I don't deal with it as much.
mm,
Um, really, all the dealings I've ever had with racism have been secondhand through my wife and kids. So,
mm.
um, but yeah, I just think that there are bigger issues than a statue. And maybe eventually we get to the statue, but I think the big issues need to be tackled first.
Yeah,
Um,
I hear that, but I just don't think that's the way life is. I think it's all about you tackle the small things and you try to go up a step, tackle something a little bit bigger, go up a step, tackle something a little bit bigger. I think that's how black people
well,
normally try to address these things. I like, we mentioned this before, reparations. At the moment, black people try to talk about reparations, you're laughed at. But I guess if you try to tackle smaller things and you keep going for the next thing a little bit bigger, who knows? Maybe one day they can bring up reparations again, and maybe by then it may not sound so ridiculous.
yeah, I
Yeah,
don't think reparations sound ridiculous.
but to a lot of people it
I
does.
To a lot of people it does. Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely. Um, I I guess I don't understand or haven't been educated enough or had it explained to me enough, and maybe I'll never understand. I'm fully willing to accept that as well. But
understand what?
what
Why
well,
we
that's
need
what
it? Why black people want it?
I don't
How
understand
it will
what it
help?
does. I don't understand what it does. I understand why giving someone money will help. I mean, I understand.
So when a policeman shoots a black man dead, why bother to give his relatives any money then?
It's a because that's now. I don't know. I don't have a good answer for you because it's now. It's happening right now. I don't know what.
So because slavery happened uh, quite some time ago, it's no longer really worth compensating because.
And I don't. I mean, are there any countries, and there may be, I don't know. Are there any countries that do or have or still do or are working on trying to pay out reparations to any race, not just to
Well, we
black
know
race?
that Jewish people receive
In
reparations.
Germany paid out reparations to Jewish
Yeah,
people?
yeah,
So when did that happen? Because I didn't hear about that over here.
yeah.
I think I remember you saying that actually
Yeah,
last
I
time.
don't know when, but I don't know if it's still going. But apparently, it was huge. I didn't know about it until I started looking at reparations for black people, and then when I googled it, yeah,
I guess I don't understand. I don't understand what it does. And the only answer for what you asked me was, I guess, because that person just got killed right now. I don't know. But I also don't pretend to understand. I'm not pretending to understand what it's like, and what it's like day to day, or what it feels like to know that you had ancestors that went through that kind of thing. I mean, I think I said on a episode, one of our episodes of
yeah, yeah. I
3 or
won't, I
4
won't
weeks
pursue
ago.
this one because we have discussed it before. I think I
Well,
put you
no,
through
I'm
the
saying
ringer.
I think I said to someone else on an episode that you weren't on, but that you had said something to me one time that I'd never considered before about what is black culture, what's black religion, whatever. Like, think
Mm,
everything we have, culture, religion, style, all that stuff comes from whatever area we were enslaved in,
for sure.
and I've never thought about that before.
Mm, mm.
It's there's an interesting thing, and I guess we're kind of getting about to the end of our normal time, but there's an interesting thing. Um, there's things don't move me emotionally very often.
Okay.
As far as the very few things move me to tears,
Yeah,
but
fair enough.
the one thing that moves me to tears, no matter how often I hear it, no matter what the situation is there's Ray Charles has a song. He doesn't. It's a cover song, but it's that "Take Me Home, Country Road." He did a
Yeah.
cover of that song, and it's
Okay.
beautiful. And but there's a point in the song where there's a call and an answer, and he's singing both parts.
All right. Okay.
And someone said it to me. It may have been Steven that said it to me years ago, but
Mm.
I stopped and thought about it, and I listened to it and thought about it. And people don't have that in their voice anymore. They just, I don't know why, but you can hear hundreds of years of oppression in the singing in his voice. And every time I hear that song, when it gets to that part and you hear it, because he lived through it. I mean, he did live
Yeah.
through part of
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
at a very young age. You can hear every bit of that. And it's so, for me to ever sit around and pretend that I have answers to this kind of stuff, I just,
That's why I
I don't.
respect you for even holding the conversation, mate. Because yeah.
Yeah, I will. I will. I mean, yeah, I'll talk about anything, and I
Yeah, I
mean,
know.
and
I know.
you know, I, I don't know. I mean, I'm a mixed family here, and we dealt with things when our kids were young because we lived in a
Mm.
very small town in
Yeah,
Tennessee.
maybe you said. Yep.
And so I mean, dealt with shit when I was dating my wife, things like that. So, like I say, I've only ever dealt with it secondhand,
Mm.
but yeah, I don't know. But I enjoy having these conversations.
Good. I
Steven, not
enjoy
so
having
much.
it too.
Steven gets tired of talking about race after a little while because he doesn't feel like we can do anything about it. He feels like it's a bad situation that needs to be corrected, but he doesn't feel like society's ready to correct it, and it's a waste of time to talk about it.
Well, who says that, Steve?
Yeah, it's somewhere along those lines.
Yeah.
I'm not
First of all,
quoting
no,
it.
it can never be a waste of time to talk about it, man. It can never be a waste of time to talk about it. And again and again, I don't think you can wait for society to be ready.
Sure.
Yeah. So
Yeah, that's what I
the whole
think. I
idea
think
is
it
to talk
takes a
about
lot
it
of
and
people.
people take notice, and then and then maybe someone will do something. I don't know, would it be
Yeah,
start another movement? Who knows? But
right.
it has to begin with conversation, surely. The alternative is what? Some riot, I'm guessing, is the alternative.
Yeah, I don't know. But I enjoy having these kinds of I enjoy talking about things that most people don't want to talk about.
Right. Well, that's my point. Exactly. It's not many people I can have these sort of conversations with. So I enjoy them too.
Yeah. So anyway, hold tight, and I'll talk to you in just a moment. But thanks, guys, for watching. And Stephen will be back next week.
Yay.
Good night.
Good night.
Give us a thumbs up on Facebook at B3F Podcast. Follow us on Twitter and Twitch at B3F Podcast, and on Instagram at B3F_podcast. YouTube has all of our videos. Support us on Patreon or buy me a coffee at B3F Podcast. Send all your questions or comments to admin at B3Fpodcast.com. Find us online at B3Fpodcast.com. Rate us and review us wherever you listen. And as always, thanks for listening.